Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network. Food journalist Clara Silverstein is back with us on the program. Author of the new book, A White House Garden Cookbook. Clara has been with us before talking about the impact of the White House garden has on kids all across the country. Clara, welcome back to This Week in America. Great to have you back with us.
Thank you.
You have taken the idea of the White House garden and what she's been growing there and have tried to incorporate this in the recipes that you put together to get kids involved in eating different foods, maybe fruits and vegetables. And you've said something that's interesting. It's a great myth the kids are not involved, they don't like fruits and vegetables. And you say that sort of a nice trick to get them involved is to have them work in their own garden. Then there's sort of that pride of ownership and they're going to eat more fruits and vegetables.
That's right. I think kids are a lot more interested in things that they've had a hand in growing. And a lot of schools have gardens now, so they get the kids out there. And some kids really don't know where their food comes from. So it's really fun for them to make that connection, to see what a carrot plant looks like, or to see what a tomato plant looks like, and to be able to just pick things right off the vine or pull them right from the ground and have a bite.
You know, the White House garden has had such an impact on kids, especially through television programs, through different schools, trying to emulate what they're doing. Did they do a good job in putting together a pretty good cross-section of different items that they have planted in the garden?
They do have a tremendous variety in there. They have rhubarb and lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers, things that are familiar to most people. They also have cauliflower, broccoli, and then things that might be less familiar. They have fennel and kohlrabi and some turnips and radishes. So there's a huge variety, pretty much for any season of the year.
I guess phase one is you've got the garden and some of the different things that they're planted there that you've talked about. But then, like step two is, okay, how do you eat this? And it's interesting when you talk about broccoli, for example. If you pour a cream sauce on that, you're sort of negating the whole idea of having the broccoli in the first place. Thus, the cookbook comes in. And I'm sure you found different ways that you can actually take the fruits and vegetables and make them so they're healthful for everybody.
That's right. We went to a lot of community gardens and school gardens around the country for their ideas. And one way that people like to have broccoli is in a soup. That's a very healthy way to cook it. And you can mix it up with other things if you don't like the flavor. And in terms of sauces, there are healthy sauces in the book, so you can dress up things. One is for cilantro, which is an herb, cilantro pesto made with peanut butter and honey. So that's a slightly different twist on that. But it's an easy way for people to add something to a vegetable that they could steam.
You're listening to This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network, website thisweekinamerica.us. Clara Silverstein is our guest, author of the new book, A White House Garden Cookbook, a book that took some time to put together. She's watching what's growing in the garden, the impact that's having on the country. Claire, I want to talk a little bit. As a food journalist, you've been involved in this for a number of years. How are we changing in terms of preparing the food? I mean, some of the foods you mentioned, rhubarb, that's great. Rhubarb pie is fantastic, got all the sugar, everything in there. Are we getting away from butter, salt, sugar, that type of thing? Is that the approach you're taking, a new way to prepare these dishes?
I think it's not so much new as easy. A lot of people think that they can't cook with vegetables. People turn up their noses at a restaurant. Vegetables are always a side dish. And so the idea is that you can make these things front and center at your meals. Sure, you need to have a protein to balance out the meal, maybe a starch, but you can really use these items being grown in the garden in very interesting ways, very delicious and creative ways.
What type of impact are you seeing the White House garden on kids? You've talked to a number of people in different communities and putting the cookbook together. You've talked to a number of people as the cookbook is now out. The book is called The White House Garden Cookbook. Is it having a positive impact?
I think it is. Certainly, Michelle Obama has tremendously increased the visibility of gardening. And so more and more people are getting interested in starting their own gardens. If she can do it, they can do it. She's also had a big impact nationally and internationally. There were copycat gardens in Europe, one in Ireland, one in England, and then back here in the U.S., there's a copycat garden that the Burpee Company put together in Pennsylvania. So there's a tremendous interest in what she's doing, and it's really spreading around.
Is this something that's pretty easy for people to emulate? You mentioned community gardens. Maybe a neighborhood would like to get together and try something like this. A community would like to get together. A school that's not involved yet but thinking, hey, this is not a bad idea. Is this something that they can replicate fairly easily?
The main thing is to find the space for it and permission to cultivate it. And then they need to find people who know what they're doing so that it maybe sounds easy to go out and plant some things, but it does help to have somebody who's been through it and who knows what plants are likely to grow most easily, which ones are likely to yield the most vegetables. Some plants, they just take a long time to mature, so people are waiting all summer for their crop to be ripe. So it's good to get people involved, and then it feels more like a community. You have people teaching each other.
I know you've got several children. How difficult was it for your kids at an early age to get them to eat fruits and vegetables?
Oh, they used to make fun of me. They used to call me Mrs. Fruits and Vegetables because at every meal I was always saying, "Where's the fruit? Where's the vegetable?" So they've had me their whole life telling them about that.
Well, good. I feel much better. I thought maybe you had a magic wand, but like all parents, you're trying to get them going on it, and it's fun. Once you can get them involved, when they're really interested and they start experiencing this, suddenly as adults they're eating more fruits and vegetables. So it really begins at that early age. It's an excellent book, a White House Garden Cookbook. Clara Silverstein has been our guest on This Week in America. She's a food journalist and author of that book that's available Amazon.com, available. You can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and get information on the book as well. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on This Week in America.
Thank you so much.